Once again from DPLSurve Equipment. Good morning, you guys. It's kind of gloomy out here in Camarillo, California, but I think we're getting off to a good start. I wish I could say the same for Donald Trump, considering that most of the people at the latest UN convention, United Nations, were laughing at him. It's kind of pathetic when your president or the president of the United States is doing more to entertain as compared to actually leading. It's just a very interesting scenario that we have nowadays. It's like they're probably imagining themselves tuning into some sort of comedy show whenever they hear about, excuse the noise, whenever they hear about what's going on in Washington, D.C. It's more like a comedy act than anything else that you want to take seriously. So anyway, that's where we are in life, having a president who's basically entertaining everyone else by saying the most outlandish things possible on a daily basis. What else is going on? Let's see. We have, well, let's see. Trying to figure out what else is going on. Well, if I can think of anything, I'll just interject it. My name is Monty Henry, owner of DPLSurve Equipment. We run a full-service surveillance and security equipment company. We have lifetime guarantees and warranties on all the products. We have 24/7, 365 tech sales and customer support. We have perhaps the largest inventory of items that not only can you buy, but you can rent or you can lay away as well. In addition to that, we have the largest inventory of, the largest media library, rather, of articles and directories and podcasts and blogs, and even demonstration videos that cover a wide variety of surveillance and counter-surveillance equipment, for instance. In addition to that, we have a lot of new products that I've added to the website. So check out the website. If you haven't checked it out in a long time, go there and look at all the new products that we've added. They're clearly labeled as new. You could sort by new if you want to, just to make sure you're looking at all the new products. In addition to that, we're also listing the used products, the formerly rented items. You can see that as well. In addition to that, we do accept Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, and Bcash. So for your crypto millionaires, for those of us who got into the crypto space 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago or whatever, you're probably doing very well. So you know the feeling, like we know the feeling, that there's nothing that compares in the fiat world with the gains and the appreciation that we've achieved in the crypto world, in the crypto space. So yeah, go there and drop some of that that crypto wealth into our shopping cart and get your lifetime guaranteed and warranted, state-of-the-art, law enforcement grade spy gadgets, okay? In addition to that, the website is completely redesigned, optimized for mobile. I'm going to be doing some work on the SEO, or search engine optimization. That's the next project, just to make sure we do everything imaginable. For what reason, I don't know, but I just like throwing money into the business, even though it's a waste with all the people who cannot afford to shop there. It's kind of like just a major business deduction, more or less, for my taxes, I guess. What else is going on? Let's see. I think that's about it for now. Let's take a look at today's article, because this really hits home with a number of things I've been telling you guys and talking about for a long, long time in terms of Visa and MasterCard and American Express. The reason why I always say these things is because it impacts a number of different aspects of the business community. Consumers don't realize the impact, but I think merchants and retailers like myself and others, we do realize the impact. And as you're going to see, Amazon and Kroger's and Target and all of these major companies are also going to be trying to remind you guys of how the banks collude with the credit card issuers, and they make everything much more expensive for all of us, including consumers, even though the consumers get a few crumbs and a few pieces of bread thrown back at them every once in a while. So the consumers are led to believe that this is worth what's happening in the industry, even though when you see malls closing down, when you see some of your favorite stores closing down, this is a consequence of how the system operates with the banks and the credit card issuers. Okay, so try to put two and two together if you can. Let's get into this article. Shoppers love rewards credit cards. Retailers hate them. Merchants want the right to reject some rewards credit cards, citing high interchange fees. Consumers have become addicted to credit cards with generous rewards programs. Retailers are trying to cut them off. Large merchants, including Amazon Incorporated, Target Corporation, and Home Depot Incorporated, are pushing for the right to reject some rewards credit cards, which typically carry higher fees for merchants. They are likely to opt out of a roughly $6.2 billion settlement Visa Incorporated and MasterCard Incorporated and several large banks recently reached with merchants and continue to make their case in court, according to people familiar with the matter. The retailers are trying to end the card network's Honor All Cards rule, which requires merchants that accept Visa or MasterCard branded credit cards to take all of them. If merchants could pick and choose amongst Visa or MasterCard credit cards, choose those with the highest merchant fees and most generous rewards, likely would be on the chopping block. Again, this Honor All Cards rule basically requires that if I accept Visa or if I accept MasterCard, I have to accept all of the cards, even though for my business and for most all businesses, we typically have the right to refuse service to anyone that we so choose. This is clearly a general rule of thumb for most businesses, and I can't think of any reason why this shouldn't apply to credit cards and any other service that we're offering in our businesses. So I don't know how Visa and MasterCard are thinking as far as the logic associated with this is concerned. The Honor All Cards rule just doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, ultimately, though, the retailers are looking for bargaining power that could help them lower fees across the board. The stakes are high all around. Rewards credit cards, such as JP Morgan Chase & Company, Sapphire Reserve, Capital One Financial Corporation's Venture, and Citigroup's Incorporated Double Cash, are wildly popular among consumers for their perks like cash back, airfare, and hotel stays. Some 90% of all credit card purchase volume is currently charged on rewards credit cards, up from 86% in 2013 and 67% in 2008, according to estimates from Mercator Advisory Group Incorporated, a payments research firm and consulting firm. Well, it looks like, people are getting very addicted to these rewards, and default rates on credit cards are also going through the roof. So not only are people going gung-ho over the rewards, but they're also not realizing that you actually have to have money in the bank and that you can't abuse the credit cards, because when default rates go up, that indicates that people are getting way over their heads as far as what they can afford and what they can't afford. So you guys, just because you have a credit card with a line of credit, it doesn't mean much if you're not being responsible with it. Moving right along. Yet merchants say the most generous rewards credit cards with the highest fees are cutting into their profits. When shoppers pay with Visa or MasterCard credit cards, merchants are charged interchange fees that are set by the card networks and funneled to the banks that issued those cards. These swipe fees vary widely, but are higher on rewards credit cards, sometimes around 3% of the cardholder's purchase price. Banks have come to rely heavily on the fees they earn from credit cards. All told, merchants paid credit card issuers $43.4 billion, with a B, you guys, in Visa and MasterCard interchange fees in 2017, up 68% from 2012, according to Nielsen report. Rewards credit cards and a broader consumer shift to cards from cash have fueled big gains for Visa and MasterCard in recent years. Shares of Visa and MasterCard have soared 31% and 46% respectively so far this year. and upending of the fee structure could lessen the incentive for small banks to issue credit cards, said Brian Riley, Director of Credit Advisory Services at Mercator. Cutting into the fees the card companies collect and leaving them with a customer base more heavily made up of big banks that have more clout to negotiate directly with merchants. Actually, I don't think this is a bad thing. If merchants overall and banks are negotiating directly for reduced fees, then that means you guys get to save money, even though you're not quite putting two and two together. Just make sure you understand when Amazon and other retailers, if we can negotiate directly and deal with the credit card issuers and the banks directly, then we get to give you guys a better deal. But when we are forced to deal with the intermediaries, such as the merchant processors and the various intermediaries that get in the way, that means no one wins really, because credit consumers do chargebacks, and the amount of chargebacks is going through the roof, which means a lot of retailers go out of business, which means we have to do more to prevent fraud and abuse, which means more customers' accounts are going to be flagged for being abusers, and it's just going to be an ugly picture overall. That's why I did an article not long ago talking about a company out of Irvine, California, working with Amazon, working with Victoria's Secret and everybody else to monitor and flag the accounts of customers who are abusing their returns, the customer return policy. So those abusers are being flagged, and they're being banned and barred and restricted from shopping at various retailers, and that's creating a very ugly thing. Moving right along, you guys. The long-term risk to MasterCard and Visa still centers on interchange more than anything else, said Mr. Riley. In the next 3 years, there's going to be a shakeout. And I can guarantee you guys there's definitely going to be a shakeout, particularly when Bitcoin is implemented more and more into these payment choices, as indicated by Swipe and a number of other outfits or companies doing payment processing. Even, I think PayPal has a Braintree shopping cart integration that allows you to use Bitcoin in addition to WooCommerce through Coinbase has just instituted a plug-in for shopping carts so that any merchant online can integrate Coinbase's Coinbase Commerce plug-in into their WooCommerce shopping cart. Moving right along. Card networks say preventing merchants from picking and choosing among credit cards creates a frictionless experience for consumers. They argue their rule also creates an even playing field by making sure credit cards issued by large banks and small banks are accepted. If a merchant agrees to accept MasterCard, there cannot be any discrimination between different issuers' cards or different types of cards issued by one financial institution, a MasterCard spokesman said. Well, see, this is complete bullshit, because actually, as a merchant, I should be able to pick and choose what payment choices that I want to implement or not implement. In other words, if I give you the opportunity to write checks in my store or on my website, that's a privilege extended to you. It's not a right. If I want to give you the ability to use wire transfers or not, Bitcoin or not, Amex credit card or not, these are choices that are ultimately left up to the retailer, to the merchant. And if a customer doesn't like the lack of choices, or for instance, at a particular store, they can move on, right? So don't shop at those stores that don't give you all of the payment choices that you like. And if those other stores offer more choices, then you go there, right? So the marketplace really should be the only determining factor, not some idiot from MasterCard trying to pretend like this honor all cards rule actually makes sense. It's an assault to everyone's intelligence, and they're trying to play us for stupid. So moving right along. Quote, Visa believes consumers should always have a choice in how they pay, including being allowed to use their Visa credit cards regardless of the card type or issuer. When consumer choice is limited, nobody wins, unquote, said a Visa spokeswoman. Again, people that have their head up their ass. The lead lawyer for a group of merchants using Visa and MasterCard to end the honor all cards rule said merchants aren't trying to take away consumer choice. What merchants want is the right to negotiate the terms of acceptance like they do with vendors in every other aspect of their business and partner with banks directly, said Jeffrey Schender, a managing partner at Constantine Cannon LLP. Now that's basically as simple and as plain as it can get. We merchants, we retailers, we should be able to negotiate directly with vendors and suppliers and banks and credit card issuers. Just no two ways about it. Okay, moving right along. Retailers have been battling for years to lower interchange fees and relax the rules governing credit card agreements. A class action lawsuit filed in 2005 alleged that the policies are anti-competitive. While that lawsuit is closer to a resolution with a $6.2 billion settlement, Visa and MasterCard are likely to continue battling with Amazon and other retailers that previously filed separate lawsuits challenging the honor all cards rule. So again, if Amazon can't negotiate on their own behalf, I think the rest of us are in trouble. But see, Amazon is going to eventually realize Bitcoin is an end run around all of this madness. When Amazon integrates Bitcoin into their shopping cart, they won't have to worry about the millions of dollars and tens of millions of dollars that they're paying to MasterCard and Visa and American Express and all those guys. And Jeff Bezos is going to wake up one day and he's going to realize, why am I spending so much time battling the credit card issuers and the banks when I can just use Bitcoin? Moving right along. A recent court ruling may bode well for the card companies. The Supreme Court earlier this year ruled in favor of an American Express company policy that prevents merchants that accept Amex from other customers from offering customers discounts and other incentives to pay with cheaper credit cards. So again, American Express won a stupid ruling from the Supreme Court, again putting in place the honor all cards rule, or not allowing us retailers, us merchants, to offer you guys incentives to use cheaper credit cards. So again, this is another example of monopolistic tendencies going on, and it's not right. So we're going to have to keep fighting. Moving right along, banks began rolling out more generous rewards credit cards about 6 years ago in an effort to challenge American Express, which dominated the market for wealthy consumers. Citigroup ramped up the rewards cards rates in 2013 with its Prestige card. JP Morgan rolled out its Sapphire Reserve card 3 years later, and U.S. Bancorp introduced the Altitude Reserve card in 2017. The credit cards have annual fees of around $400 or higher, large sign-up bonuses in exchange for sizable spending in the first few months of usage, travel benefits that range from airport lounge access to travel expense reimbursement. Sapphire Reserve was so popular, JP Morgan temporarily ran out of the metal used to manufacture the cards. As more cards were launched with higher swipe fees, they became harder for retailers to avoid. For years, some merchants had opted not to accept costlier Amex cards, but rejecting Visa and MasterCard could result in a steep decline in sales. Unlike Visa and MasterCard, Amex both operates the card network and issues its own cards. An Amex spokesman said that on average, the current cost of accepting Amex is about the same as Visa and MasterCard. Visa and MasterCard premium cards charge some of the highest interchange fees, often north of 2.1% of the purchase amount, compared roughly with 1.2 to 1.7 on non-premium credit cards. Interchange fees are often comprised of a flat fee plus a percentage of the dollar amount of a cardholder's purchase. The fees vary based upon several factors, including merchant type and fraud rates, and they aren't fixed. Large merchants try to negotiate these fees. Amazon, for example, has been working to negotiate low interchange fees with Visa and MasterCard for years on the grounds that it has lower fraud rates than many online merchants, according to a person familiar with the matter. Well, I sympathize with Amazon because I've tried to interact directly with the credit card issuers and the banks, and those guys don't want to have anything to do with logic and reason or rationale. They want to gouge us for as long as possible, for as much as possible. And again, if Amazon doesn't have any clout with these guys, it's a very good possibility that this monopoly going on and with the banks and the credit card issuers and the merchant processors, etc., is going to keep going on until we adopt Bitcoin, plain and simple. Amazon and many other large merchants also have their own credit cards, typically in partnership with a bank and a card network, that are designed to boost shopping at their stores. Merchants rarely pay interchange fees on these cards when they're used at their stores. For some merchants with lower margins, like grocers, the fees can have a big impact. A Kroger Company, Unit Foods Company, Kroger Company, Unit Foods Company supermarkets stopped accepting Visa credit cards in August after the two companies failed to reach an agreement on swipe fees. Kroger Chief Information Officer Chris Hyam said in an interview at the time that the growing use of rewards credit cards factored into the decision. So that about concludes it for that particular article, you guys, that podcast. And if Kroger is any example, we're going to have to just put our foot down as merchants and retailers and refuse little by little the use of the credit cards, especially the high fee credit cards and the rewards credit cards, mainly because consumers are getting their little breadcrumbs and little tidbits, and they're afraid to understand that we have other choices. I think in the crypto space, I'll try to publish on my website, but in the cryptocurrency space, we are offering our own credit cards. A lot of them don't have the rewards associated with them right now, but to get the Shift Pay card, SHIFT, get the Shift credit card from Coinbase, and get your BitPay card, BITPAY. Get your BitPay card from BitPay. So between Coinbase's credit card and BitPay's credit card, the BitPay card is from BitPay. The Shift card is from Coinbase. Get those cards. We need to put pressure on those companies to start offering rewards, and maybe you'll get rewards in cryptocurrencies. And when those cryptocurrencies go through the roof, they'll make those rewards that you're getting from MasterCard and Visa and American Express, JP Morgan Chase look like nothing at all. So that's what I anticipate will happen in the future, that we'll get more expanded credit card offerings of our own, and maybe have our own network where we won't be beholden to Visa and MasterCard and American Express's network or their rewards. We'll have cryptocurrency rewards, and those cryptocurrencies will go up in value because of the widespread adoption and usage. And then we won't have to worry about those guys taking the $40 billion a year and from the pockets of the merchants and the retailers. Anyway, we're going to conclude this session like we always say at the conclusion of every session. You guys keep your eyes and ears open and be safe out there. And we'll talk to you later. Have a good day. Thanks. Take care and bye.